Hi there and welcome to today's Trade Radiators video. Today we're going to have a look at the world of bleeding radiators. And we're not swearing when we say that, we actually mean bleeding the radiators of air from the top. So let's have a look. So number one, how do you know that you need to bleed a radiator? Well, the usual way of finding out whether you need to do that is you'll find that the radiator is nice and warm along the bottom when the heating system's running and cold at the top. This denotes that air is trapped in the top of the radiator. So the first thing we do when we find out that we've got a radiator that's got air in the top of it is to actually bleed that air out. Now the most common tool you use for this is a radiator bleed key like this one here. Often what I'll do is get a file and shave off the small taper in here to make this easier to do. So right at the top of the radiator just here we found our radiator bleed key. Now as you can see it's also got a slot in the end of it so you can use a slotted screwdriver. On this particular type, we can't quite fit our radiator bleed key to go over this, but that's perfect for this video because there are so many different types of bleed valves out there, it's handy to know which ones fit. So now we know where the radiator bleed key is and we know that we need to bleed air over our radiator. The next thing we do is switch the heating system off fully so that we don't get any problems by bleeding the air out whilst it's running. So now we know we've got the heating system turned off, both these valves here at the bottom are open. I'm just basically going to slacken off this slightly and make sure that we've got no air trapped in the radiator. So there we go, all done. It's often a very good idea to have a cloth with you so you can trap any water and stop there being a small flood or anything or getting up on the walls. That's quite handy. I've done this so many times I don't need a cloth. I'm learned when it comes to bleeding radiators. Now the next thing you need to worry about is what if you're bleeding the rad and air stops coming out but no water comes out either. You'll probably find that you need to find the pressure vessel for the heating system because the pressure's probably dropped in the system. Find the filling loop. It's either going to be inside your boiler if you've got a combi or a system boiler, or it will be in your airing cupboard, and open up the filling loop so the pressure reads 1 bar again. Remember, before filling up the system to shut the radiator bleed valve again, otherwise you could cause a flood. The other thing you need to think about is if you've got a gravity fed system and there's no water or air coming out, there could be a blockage in the pipe from your loft tank, or also the ball valve could be stuck up in the loft and not actually allowing water into the system. So there are a few other things to think about. Once you've finished bleeding your radiator, it's a very good idea to make sure that the cold system pressure, if you've got a sealed system, is around 1 bar. And also make sure you fully inhibit the system afterwards using a standard treatment. Now one thing we need to think about is why did air get in the radiator in the first place? Now often air can come round after you've done some work on the heating system, like putting new rads in or done anything at all that breaks into the heating system, so that could be one reason. The most common reason though is that there's no inhibitor in the heating system and that the water is reacting with the inside of the radiators and that's creating hydrogen. Another reason is the pump speed could be set too high and the water's not getting enough chance to get away from the pump and it's actually cavitating the water. That's where it splits up the water particles and creates air that way. And there are other reasons. It could be sucking down the expansion pipe, but there are so many. If you find out you get a chronic problem with air in your heating system, it might be a good idea that you give your plumber a ring and see what they can do about it for you. I hope you found today's video helpful and it's given you a better insight on bleeding radiators. If you need any more help, pop over to the website at traderadiators.com. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.